I call the meeting to order and welcome everybody here to the you're right, Tim, with your recording, to the September meeting. You would have noted that Alex Eddy's not here today, and the engineering department's being ably represented by Amy Beadle. We have apologies from Councillor Dixon, Councillor Galvin and Alex Eddy. Would somebody like to move that they be accepted?
I'll move the apologies.
Councillor Carlton, Councillor Dick. Put that motion, those in favour say aye. Against,
Do you
carried.
think they're frightened to do a vote for the mayor, Mr Mayor?
Beg your pardon?
Do you think they're frightened to come because the mayor will vote?
I think they're probably frightened that they'd end up mayor, Stuart. I think. Would somebody like to move that the minutes of the previous council meeting held on 27th of August as circulated be taken as read and confirmed? Councillor Smith, thank you, and Councillor Moore. Seconded. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, no, carried. There's nil presentation. We call now for declarations of interests and conflicts of interest. There being nil at this moment, Mr General Manager. Additional late items, could I ask that someone move that we accept the additional late items being the commercial hotel site Warialda and certification of the financial statements? Councillor Young, I think it was. Yes. Seconder there somewhere, Councillor Colton. That we accept those onto the agenda as late items. I'll put that motion. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, no, carried. Now, item 1 is the mayoral election. I should vacate the seat. Is there, what nominations do we have?
Well, at the moment, I have one nomination for Councillor John Colton, moved by Councillor Catherine Egan and seconded by Councillor Francis Young, and the councillor has indicated his consent to the nomination, but anyone can nominate from the floor if they wish. There's nomination forms in front of you. If you want to nominate, you don't have to be seconded, you can just nominate yourself.
Councillor Smith has plenty of time. I'm happy to nominate you.
Oh, it's supposed to be no, right?
Well,
And it's for 12 months, Max,
It's for
isn't it?
12 months. This is a requirement because of the extension of the election till the 4th of September 2021.
Councillor Dick, do you think it should only be for 6?
Well, if there's no further nominees, I declare Councillor John Colton elected for the 2021 mayoral term. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Most unusual circumstances, isn't it, where we've got a 5-year term as councillors, and I do thank you very much for renewing your confidence in me or showing it. I think that we've got a really good team. I'm really pleased with the way things go. We seem to be able to, might not always agree, but come to a resolution at the end of the day. And what I really like about this council is that whether you supported the resolution or not, you support the decision of council when it's made, and that is so important, and that doesn't happen everywhere. So, congratulations to you as a team. I think you're a fine lot of councillors, and I feel very privileged to be able to lead that team. Thank you once again. And now we have the election of Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I have one nomination at the moment put in for the position of Deputy. Oh, well, first of all,
Should take the
you've got to
microphone.
decide if you want to have a Deputy Mayor.
Take the microphone. Yeah.
Well, first you've got to decide if you want to have a Deputy Mayor. So is someone willing to move to...
I'll move that
Take
we
a
have a deputy
resolution.
mayor.
We have a Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Colton. A seconder, or Councillor Smith. Does anyone want to speak either for or against that? No, I'll put that motion then. Those in favour say aye. It's no carried.
It's good. Seeing you've decided you do want a Deputy Mayor, I've received one nomination from Councillor Catherine Egan, moved by Councillor John Colton, seconded by Councillor David Colton. And Councillor Egan has indicated her consent to that nomination. Once again, there are nomination forms in front of you, and you can nominate yourself from the floor, or you can be nominated by someone else. Is there any other nominations? Well, in that case, I declare Councillor Catherine Egan elected to the position of Deputy Mayor, and I'm Catherine's got an issue about her identity being misused by someone over the internet, and so she's had to go to the police station. But I'm sure if she was here, she would say thank you very much for the confidence that you've shown in her, and that'll be recorded in the minutes. Thank you. And I'll hand back to the mayor now.
Thanks, Max. It's important, I think, that we have, a mayor in one town and a deputy in the other, if we can possibly do it. It's not absolutely necessary, but it works well, and I'm very pleased to have Catherine back on the team. Okay, we'll keep on going.
It's a
Oh, here we go, I'm on the wrong page. The councillor activity report. So we're going on to councillor activity report. Activity report is the first or the third item on the agenda. So, oh gosh. It's all there. Does anybody like to comment on it? Is there anything you want to alter, or it's just for notation really? Can I have somebody move that it be noted?
Yes.
Councillor Young, and a seconder please. Councillor Smith. Are there any questions? It's reasonably accurate. It can't always be spot on.
Something's happening.
So it's been moved that this report be received. I'll put that motion. Those in favour say aye. And it's no carried. I just want to go back a step. I'm sure I've done this. I just welcome Nadina Jackson to our meeting from the gallery. She's in the gallery, I mean. It's been funny how set up with this COVID. We haven't been permitted to have anybody here, but it has relaxed a bit, and we do have room so that we can socially distance. Nadina spoke to me the other night about coming along, and anyway, I checked and it was quite all right. But anyway, welcome. We're pleased to see your interest in our council, Nadina. Thank you. Item 4 is the monthly investment rates collection report. Thanks, Helen. Is there anything there that...
No, I can take any questions. Rates collection is up on where it was last year, so your guess is as good as mine, month to month, of what the figure's going to be. We're right in the middle of audit at the moment, so yeah, I can take any questions on that report if you have any.
Has the interest-free period been taken up a bit?
Yeah, we won't know until they're due 31st of August, but
Okay, yeah.
according to those figures, people have still paid them.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know whether people didn't read their rates notice and know that they won't be charged interest until December, or because we have so many people on payment plans, it's a bit of a non-event because people just pay it weekly or fortnightly, so
Right.
it will keep rolling in. As far as the cash position goes, from where it was sitting there, it's significantly dropped in the last week. We've had 2 big milestone payments for the pool come out. So it's obviously progressing well because we've paid the contractor 2.
Yeah, there must be a
Payments.
fair bit of activity there.
Yeah.
It's a money pit.
Oh, pardon me. Is there any questions of Helen?
Remember?
I think had there been a decent rain event come through last weekend instead of what we got, there'd have been a lot less worry about rates, but it's very disappointing. Would somebody like to move the adoption of that report? Please, Councillor Young, Councillor Moore. I'll put that motion if there's no further questions. Those in favour say aye. Aye. It's no carried. Now, item 5 is the committee memberships, and as I said earlier, it's a bit unusual in that we're in the 5th year of a 4-year term, but it's been recommended by the General Manager that we leave the committees as they were at the beginning of your council term. Are you happy to do that? You can have the opportunity of swapping to another one if you'd like, but if you're happy to do that, I'll ask for a move of the motion, the recommendation.
I'll move.
Councillor Smith, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Dick, thank you. Are there any questions? You're all happy with it? I'll put the motion then. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
And it's no carried. And we finish this meeting by 9:30. Item 6, recommendation from the Standing Committee meeting held on the 10th of September. And I'll just read through them if you like. The recommendation from the Public Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 10th is adopted. Monthly Technical Services Report. Oh, there's no point me reading it really. It's all there in front of you. Just noting that the picnic day is on the 2nd, isn't it, Max? The 2nd of October?
I think so.
I think it's the
Friday.
2nd. The office will be closed anyway.
I would point out some of these we've actually already actioned in anticipation that they would be adopted.
Yeah.
Like the letter to Inverell Shire Council has been sent. I think the dates for the meetings have been advertised.
Right.
And
yeah.
I know a lot of those issues that were raised by councillors in councillors' reports have been addressed.
Yeah. So, they're all there in front of you, or you would have read them. Can I have a mover of the recommendation, please? Moved. Councillor Colton, seconder. Councillor Smith. No questions? I thought we were looking for a tough question of the engineer, but we're going to get it.
One question with
Yeah.
that. The drive-in park on the Inverell Road has been closed off. What was that for?
That was an RMS decision. There are some gum trees that have died and limbs are falling off them, so they just wanted to close it out until they could get the trees taken down.
Yeah. It's been closed there for a week or so.
That's a Rotary one, is it?
People in town
Right,
this morning.
yeah. Sorry?
The tree people are in town this morning.
Yeah, I see some, yeah. I see them at the motel. Huh, all good?
No other questions? Councillor Dick, yes.
Mr Mayor, through to Max. Max, are we still limiting 3 days for campers on the river?
No, we've been taking a fairly relaxed attitude to those people, especially the ones that had anticipated being able to go on to Queensland. So we haven't really been following up. But most of them don't seem to stay much more than, like the maximum would be about 14 days.
Are there a lot of people down there?
Oh,
Yes.
it's packed.
I just noticed the Warriella one's chock-a-block there this morning.
It is, seems to be every night, doesn't it? Yeah.
I went down and had a look yesterday, and the caravans are 2 and 3 foot away from each other.
And we're anticipating over the school holidays that it could even be more.
Yeah, right.
I think everybody is expecting the border to open soon too.
Yeah.
I'll talk more on that in a minute. All right, is there any other questions? I've got a move and a second for this recommendation. Councillor Moore?
Mr Mayor, just one for the engineering. Bob Swain rang me the other day regarding the Adam Scrub Road. Apparently up the top end of his place, on the eastern side of his place, the black soil's coming through. Yeah. I think he was going to ring Alex about it, but anyway, that's okay. And he's wondering about his gravel quarry approval.
I provided feedback to planning about his gravel quarry. I just requested some more information from him, so I don't know if that's gotten through to him or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, right. No, that's the just a couple of things he
Yeah.
queried the other day.
I'll pass on Adam Scrub to Pete and
Yeah.
get him to take a look and see if we can get anything going out there.
All right, thank you.
Is that Peter's area, Amy, is it?
It could be if we've got too much
Oh.
resheeting going on up north.
Okay, yeah.
On the DA, Councillor Moore, I think that's one of the DAs that's been handled by Libby, the external consultant,
Oh, right.
and I'm not sure what her health situation is like.
She's been ill, is she?
And she went to sleep with a, the thing you put in your eye. What are they? Contact lens, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And that's apparently not a very good thing to do. And she got very ill from it.
All right, no more questions? I'll put the motion then. Those in favour say aye. Aye. No, carried.
Next item is the first one of the late items.
Late items, yeah. Okay. So the late item is to do with the commercial hotel site, and you can see that well, you can see all the different fundings, but you can see the letters there that we've had come to council. And from the Ted Stubbins, signed his name under the letterhead of the chamber, and he's done it a couple of times. Anyway, they've been circulated. We've all had them as emails, and they've all been in the paper. The Marilyn Stubbins letter as well. I don't know if there's any discussion on it. The recommendations of the report regarding the commercial hotel project be received. We've been over and over and over this. We've done our best to consult with the community, and we've made our decision. Is there anybody who want to make a comment before I? Councillor
I
Dick.
just think that the previous paragraph is the important one, the conclusion, because we have made a decision and we need to, push on with it.
Yeah, I think that the reason we have this item on the agenda is that the letter writers wanted it to go to council, so we're doing that now. And I think we've debated it and debated and debated. We've inspected it. We think there's only one way to go, and that's what we're doing.
I actually thought it was important too to address some of the issues that were raised on the internet, and Facebook in particular. There was a suggestion that we're not doing the right thing by the smaller communities, which I just reject out of hand. There was also, we've spent over $250,000 doing up that former Masonic building, and it's really of no use other than to the Historical Society. That would just be such a gross waste of money to move that organisation. And I think that needs to be out there in the public as well. The other thing I've noticed, which is, I used to see it a lot in other places I've worked, I've never really seen it here, but these allegations or suggestions will report you to the ICAC. If anyone says that to you, all you need to do is carry around with you the details of the contact details and just pass them over, because you have not done anything that is incorrect. And it's almost become like a threat that basically deadbeats use, frankly.
Yeah, I agree. Councillor Dick, you had a question?
Mr Mayor, through the week I went to the Warrigalta Historical Society meeting, and as you could imagine there, I got a fair dressing down. They've asked me to ask council to reconsider the complete demolishing of the hotel, to keep the main facade where the date of the building is up the top. Their second request was to see if we would be permissible to move them into that part of the building. There was quite heated discussions about the hotel. So I'm sort of a conduit between that committee to the council, and their request, as I say, is those two requests.
Thank you, Councillor Dick. I think that, it would require a rescission motion to change anything. We've been over and over it, and the community elected us to represent them, and that's what we're doing. I think it's an unreasonable request from the Historical Society, really. We've done so much for them. And,
I think maybe they should be advised of this amount here that it's cost.
yeah.
And I mean, you'd be looking at that plus to do up the hotel for them, so.
Yeah.
They did ask me, Mr Mayor, that where the money was coming from to purchase the building. Max, could you just let the councillors know?
It was an allocation in the capital expenditure in the budget. We actually had 120, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the original amount which the council asked to negotiate. It was there, it was advertised, available. And I think, I wasn't at the meeting, obviously, Councillor Dick, but I'd imagine one of the people who was the most vehement was also a person that encouraged and pestered the council to buy the old church in Gravesend as a museum, which has since fallen, into nothingness and had to be sold. So the council spent money on that as well. we not only purchased the building from the church, but we also then put up a garage to store all the wonderful things that they had there they're going to put on display. I mean, it's almost like you've got a rolling person that just likes to spend our money.
The big thing that should be really pushed is the ongoing cost. If we end up still leaving something there as a museum, it's got to be opened every day. I don't know what's it worth to have you nearly got to have someone there.
Yeah.
The ongoing costs, would it be what, 120 grand or something?
Well, if you've got a person full-time, it's at least $100,000 with all the leave loading and then you've got the support services, and then they always need secretarial support. Like, it doesn't stop. And the other thing, like the people that have been, I actually think that when we, closer to the event, we should open the building for the community to go through and actually look at it. Because a lot of people must be saying things without having any idea what it's like. But there's no internal access to the first floor. But that would cost a fortune, and if you wanted to use it for any public use at all, you would have to have disabled access, which is really, I'd imagine,
Be a lift.
a lift.
Yeah, some more?
To Max, perhaps when we do something like that, have an inspection, we should probably have a list of things that need to be done to bring it up to scratch. And a sort of a rough idea of the cost, because when you start talking, 200,000 to start with, and then an open checkbook from there to fix anything, well, people don't comprehend that unless you tell them figures, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we could do that.
You know, additional to the ongoing cost is depreciation insurance. All these things, you're talking a couple $100,000, I reckon.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
The motion was never for us to own a building though.
No,
The motion was always for us to buy and
demolish,
Demolish.
that's right.
yeah, so
Just back to that Masonic Lights, Max, is that 255,000 that we've spent doing the building up, or
No,
that's
that's-
purchase as well?
The purchase was 78,000, I think, from memory.
78 or 80,000.
Yeah.
And the balance of that is actually the work that we've done fixing up the kitchen,
Yeah.
Access.
putting in the additional storage at the back, like, there's been a lot of work done.
They said what they'd do with the Masonic Hall if
Well,
it moves around,
they just vacate
they're
it.
doing nothing.
Yeah, I'd say they'd vacate it and just leave it to us.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, Jeff, was that, when they wanted the building, we kicked out a paying customer that was
Yes.
prepared to pay rent to do that,
That's right, we did.
And Max, was that originally a building intended for a archive building, like to store documents? Was that in the?
It was mentioned.
A section of it,
At one time?
a section of it was earmarked as a repository for our records, but the Historical Society made it very clear that they needed all the space,
Yeah.
other than the space that Challenge were going to occupy, and then they put considerable pressure on council to move Challenge on so they could then go into that area that Challenge was paying rent for, so. Originally, we had discussed it as being, part of it being a repository for our records.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just remember something about that years ago, that was all.
Councillor Dick.
Mr Mayor, Max, there's three sort of groups that are asking the council to reconsider our decision, as in the fact of the Warialda Historical Society, the Warialda Chamber of Commerce, this gentleman down here with the news agency here at Bingra. I see on this morning's Facebook, pardon me, he's had about 2,000 hits on his Facebook news agents type Facebook. I don't understand that, but they're three organisations that are asking us to waylay any demolishing of the building for some community engagement to be done. That's what I've noticed.
Councillor Dick, if everybody put a, I don't know, what you say, hit on Facebook or whatever it is, that are in favour of it, it'd be overwhelming. We're only hearing the silent, the minority, not the silent majority.
I think too, if I can just, the community hasn't seen we're having a design prepared so people will be able to see what it's going to look like. And also we have to advertise the development application for its demolition, so people will have the opportunity to have their say. I think that we'll be able to put up a fairly strong case as to why the building doesn't really deserve to be retained. But so people will have the opportunity, and I would say that one of the voices that is strongly on the Historical Society is also one of the few members of the chamber. So you've actually got fairly hollow vessels, but a couple of people in there screaming.
I think there's a few there that it wouldn't matter which way we went, they'd go the other way.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think also, I mean, the fact is that nobody was doing anything with it. No, whereas somebody else come along and said, well, we'll buy this for 150,000 and put an artist in there and build him and this, that. I mean, it's all about council doing that, not the chamber and not these other organisations that were doing nothing to a building that's been sitting there for a couple of years, actually absolutely rotting, and becoming an eyesore in the town.
Council is already maintaining the surrounds just to make it look appealing, we'd had to go in a number of times.
Yeah, I think that our community would be going along a lot better and a lot stronger if the chamber would come in alongside us on a lot of these things and work with us instead of opposing us on everything we ever do. The chamber seems to be anti-progress, and I'm always concerned about the signature under that letterhead as to how many people authorise that signature. Did that decision come from a meeting? How many are at the meeting? How many members are there? We're not privy to that. They won't tell us. They won't even let us join it. And we always were. The council always was a member of the chamber, and I used to attend meetings, but we've been stopped from that. So, Councillor Moore.
Mr Mayor, are we having a confidential meeting? Confidential?
We
Yeah,
don't.
we can, but there was no item for a confidential.
Yeah, right.
If you've got something you'd like to discuss in confidence, we can do it at the end of the meeting.
Well, what I was talking to you about, Max, can I bring that up now? Or-
Yeah, I don't think that's confidential.
Don't print this. Right.
Being recorded, Councillor Moore.
You're going on
Being
there.
recorded.
Yeah. Well, we might go to confidential then, I think.
Righto. We can leave it later. That's all right. Okay, so we've done this to death, I believe. It's an office recommendation report regarding the L'Oreal Commercial Hotel project be received. I need a mover.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Councillor Young, and a seconder. Jeez, Councillor Colton. I'll put the motion then. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, no, carried. And the second item is the general purpose financial statement.
Yeah, this is just the authorisation to sign the documents. I can say that the auditors seem to be very happy with what we're putting up, and in fact, in the conversation that we had a meeting, Leah and Helen and I had a meeting with them, and he acknowledged how much we've come as an organisation compared to, say, 5 years ago,
Yes.
when our statements were perpetually late, and now we're one of the first. In fact, we're within the first 5, and 2 of those are piddling little things that aren't really councils. So, we've come a long way.
Yeah, I think that congratulations to Helen and her team are in order, to having it prepared. We've discussed this statement previously. I don't know whether anybody has anything they'd like to, any matters they want to bring up out of that statement before we authorise signatures.
So they're with the auditors at the moment, so once we've finished the final queries, it'll go to the audit office to get signed off. So these are the draft ones, and they've been through it, and there's been one single digit change from what we gave to them to what is in those statements. So at this stage there won't be any material changes, if any at all.
Yeah,
And then
that's,
they'll do their presentation in November, like they always do. Someone from the audit office or Forsyth will come and do a presentation to go through them with you in November.
so, yeah, you're saying it could be somebody from the Auditor General's office, is that right?
Yeah, well, we've had the audit office come before, not last year, the year before.
We did,
So
two of them.
it'll be interesting because we have got the extension to go through till the 31st of November this year with COVID, but we chose not to take the extension and just get it done
Yeah, well, you can
by the due date, so
get on with everything else now.
Yeah.
That's done.
I'll be able to have some time off then.
Well done, Helen.
So it'll be, I don't know whether the audit office will come or not, but we can put it in the calendar and someone will come, they have to.
You know, and in fact, I think the audit company that's doing our audit has showed confidence in us. They want us to be earlier next year.
Yeah, they want us to be their first council off the rank, because the two they had before us both fell over. We're their first council to have everything done on time and ready to go, so.
Yeah, very good. So I need a mover and a seconder.
It's good.
No, I haven't got a mover.
No mover yet.
No, so can I get a mover and a seconder of the recommendation? Councillor Smith's moved it, seconded by Councillor Moore. So, is there any questions? It's pretty important this, but we have been through it line by line. Okay, I'll put the motion then. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, no, okay. Thank you very much. So I go, I just want to let you know, I was telephoned yesterday by Prime TV to see if I'd do a Zoom meeting or Zoom interview about the Guida and Inverell being exempted from the Queensland bubble. Anyway, and I just got an email from Michaela, somebody, and I emailed straight back and said, yes, I'd be happy to do that. And then I got another one back from her later saying, oh, it's all right, the Mayor of Inverell's done it on camera. And I saw his interview and it was pretty ordinary, I thought. So I was really disappointed because we had we've got a whole lot of reasons why it should be open. And I think probably now that the school thing's been opened up, the next biggest one's medical. We've got a lot of people who use medical services in Toowoomba and Brisbane. Anyway, none of that was mentioned, and Paul Harmon could only say, well, we haven't had a case of COVID here for months. Well, I would have said we've never had a case of COVID. I don't know what's going to happen. Sort of now that there's been an improvement in the Victorian setup and South Australia's opened its borders, maybe we will see some movement in Queensland, I don't know. But I do know where there's families living in the Queensland side, like I don't mean at Gundawindi, further up, that really can't come back for harvest unless they isolate for 2 weeks when they go back. It's far from satisfactory. And if you go from here to Brisbane, you've got a much greater chance of catching COVID in Brisbane than you have in Guida Shire. So it doesn't add up to me. It's very unfair. Adam Marshall's been pretty good fighting for us. But it seems like all logic's gone.
Was on the news this morning, NBN News.
Was it?
I'll see where it came up, where they showed the bubble of Inverell, and they mentioned Adam, didn't mention the other.
No, that was Prime he did his interview on.
Yeah, no, it was NBN.
Yeah.
But I just reckon we need someone from up there pushing for us. She's not going to listen to Adam.
No.
I've actually been trying to get a daughter in Brisbane that knows Curtis Pitt, the ex-treasurer.
Yeah.
I asked her the other night, I told her a few things, whether, I don't know, she was going to try and get in touch with him to push our cause, but it's just all political, and I don't know what we can do.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I think it's like a red flag to a bull putting Adam on, or any New South Wales politician to Palaszczuk.
Yeah, I don't think Mayor Harmon did any favours, actually. It was a purely political line thing, and he was abusive towards the Premier.
Yeah.
Hardly conducive to encouraging it as he said.
I thought it was hopeless interview. Anyway, I suppose he's listening to this.
Oh, he might. I know he might be one of the 14 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Anyway, that's, I can do council reports now if you like,
Yeah, I
and we
think we
can,
should, because,
That-
you know,
then we'll do the confidential a bit later.
we'll have a cup of tea.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll go this way. Councillor Colton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, yesterday, Councillor Dick and myself attended a BFMC meeting, a Bushfire Management Committee meeting. I'm starting to use the acronyms, they sound like them, at Narrabri. We were actually given full agenda status regarding the Warialda bushfire, what we're trying to achieve there. There were some notes that came out of it was, yes, they do, the committee fully supports what we're trying to do within legislative requirements, is what, that was the writer on that. But Crown Lands was there, Vicky, I can't think of another name from Crown Lands. What she had asked is what we actually want to do, because it wasn't in the report, and she's asked that of SMK, who's responsible for the ongoing maintenance and who's going to pay for the work. So that was one couple, I think that was the three things that she had, wasn't it, Councillor Dick?
Can I just make a comment on that? SMK are actually detailing in the information required to actually put forward a formal request to Crown Lands. And I'm assuming that the council will be the maintenance authority and the council will be footing the bill to do it.
That's pretty much what we said, and at the time, the mitigation crews have been increased by 100 extra staff throughout the state. So they've been pretty busy. I mean, if you've been up Morialty, you would have noticed there's been a bit of smoke around. I think they've done about 8 mosaic burns and they've got about 4 to go. I think that's right, Stuart. A little bit of moisture this week's held them up. It was also interesting, the National Parks advised that they have received significant funding to put on 125 extra staff throughout the state.
For the summer.
No, full-time.
Oh, full time.
Yeah, very interesting, and the LES are working on quotes. Why the LES are advised, I don't know, but they're involved with this northern side of town. I didn't think there was stock route up there. But apparently it's going through
On the
them.
northern
So
side.
Yeah, I think they own the northern,
It goes
coming
up,
out on the northern road there, I think.
it goes up round the golf course and then onto that,
On 3 Mile and
yeah,
Oh,
through
no,
there,
yeah, yeah.
So they're involved as well. So I think that's about all. They're working on 5 trails, and they're reviewing the asset protection zone widths on Crown Lands.
On that, just where they're burnt, on the northern side of Warriella there, Charlie Wallets, there's nothing in there, Jeff, is there?
Yeah, that's
It just needs raking, cleaning up, that's all it needs, and
just a
it's,
joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
But
I
the,
don't know what we do now, because
Well,
you saw that letter I got from, what's his name, Elliot.
Yeah.
Went right through all the stuff that's allowed to be done, didn't address anything of what, what we want done, so I really don't know.
look, I think we should go back to the Commissioner with a letter. I just spoke to him, and I think we need a formal letter and outline what's happened up to this point and the disappointments we've had, and sort of, in a nice way, demand some sort of action.
Yeah,
Do you agree with that, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
and why on that
Well, we
northern,
asked to meet him.
and why on that northern
Yeah,
side they
Sydney
didn't burn
Cruise.
to the power lines has got me
Sorry,
stunned, really. Where they burned on the northern side of Warriella from Charlie Wallets there,
yes,
why didn't they burn right to the power lines, like, I just
yeah.
can't
there was
understand the
something
way of
pointed
thinking.
out on maps that something was burnt there, something was burnt here, and so they can't burn here and they can't
So
burn
that's
there.
that 7 year rotation.
7-year rotation. And, Scott Mack said he's sort of got a plan for it now and rotating it around, like there's some areas that have been
Yeah.
deliberately missed so that they can be done next year, and then puts them on a rotating mosaic burn. But
Becomes a mosaic, yeah.
yeah, but the other suggestion that did come out was commercial thinning, which was, just thin the trees out so that
Yeah, but doesn't the 6 metre rule still apply?
Well, the forestry fella seemed to talk, he was talking 30 metres.
Does he? Even that's not enough, is it?
Even 30 metres is nothing.
We know, we sort of stick it to 150, but we do have the support of that committee and, but within legislative requirements.
Yeah, I think we need to acknowledge that. The meeting that we had in Warriallo with the agencies, they were all a bit hostile towards us. And I think it needs to be pointed out that they are acting within their legislative limits. We understand that, and we understand they support what we're trying to do. They need to understand we're not attacking them. But we have to go now to the Commissioner, and it seems like it's pointless going to the Minister. And I think that Adam Marshall will have to kick into gear a bit stronger. And, you know, maybe a meeting with the Premier, but Max was just suggesting we'll be down there in November. We might be able to get a meeting with Bob Rogers. And, anyway, we'll just have to keep it going. It's too late for this season.
Yeah.
That's all from me.
The other thing I can add to that is, and you would have all seen it, Councillor Smith, Councillor Moore and myself met with a reporter from the ABC Tamworth, and he did a pretty good story. I thought he pretty much covered what we said, and unfortunately it hasn't gone anywhere. I was hoping that we might have got onto that afternoon program where it goes statewide. I can't think what it's called, Drive or something like that, but it hasn't. So, right, Councillor. No, I'll come back to Councillor Egan.
You sneaked in.
Oh, I've got a question. Sorry, I didn't see it. Councillor, yes, Councillor Dick.
Mr Mayor, further to what Dave said, Michael Brooks, the boss over there yesterday, he was implying that the service, the RFS service, were stepping up and they were doing all these mosaic burns. And I pulled him up and I said, that's fine, but once we burn, we can't go back for 7 years. So the blocks that were burnt 6 years ago have still got another year before we can touch them again. So I sort of pulled them up. I don't want them to use this mosaic burn as an excuse for us not to put this fire break in. The other point I'd like to make is that Dave pointed out the three things from Crown Lands, which is Vicky Wong, and Vicky said that the council had not specifically asked or explained these three questions. And that's what her head office at Tamworth were interested in knowing.
I wonder why she didn't ask them when we met with her face to face. I can't understand that.
That was addressed in that meeting, I think, and a commitment was given, and I've spoken to Peter Taylor about this, that he's going to be working on exactly those questions that she asked at that meeting. And her name's Vicky Lyons, I think now.
Vicky, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So Peter Taylor is working on doing exactly what they requested, a formal application detailing exactly what we want to do, where we want to do it, and how it's going to be maintained in the future. That's been worked on at the moment.
Well, she said to me, and I've worked with her for many years, and she said they're the three things that need to be emphasised to the Tamworth office.
The review of environmental factors, I think, was.
Yeah, well,
It's all part of it.
that's actually what Peter Taylor would be doing, and as part
I
of
don't
that.
know who's going, because she's going off on maternity leave next month.
Yes.
And won't be back till July next year, so it'll probably be Armidale office. They can't get anyone to come to Moree to fill in for her for paternity leave, so.
So she's pretty reasonable to work with.
Who we'll be dealing with, who knows?
And as far as mosaic burns go, if we were allowed to do what we're asking, there'd be no more burns. It'd be slashed. It'd be kept short. We'd slash it in the winter where there wasn't any chance of a fire starting from a slasher. And there'd be a bit of common sense about it. At the moment, burning once every 7 years is just ridiculous.
Still don't think they realise what we want to do. like, we're not knocking
Well,
a whole lot of it down.
Dave, Dave did a very good job of explaining what the council are wanting. And I backed him up and I said that, look, any of you people that go to Warrialda or go to Warrialda and have a look behind the hospital in Nauru, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Similar to that. We don't want to, push everything over.
No.
We just need what is behind Nauru. That's what we want.
And it looks pretty good, doesn't it? I think it's a great example of what we're going to do.
Should we just be doing it?
I think so. I reckon we should. Yeah. Bit by bit, I reckon. Anyway,
Might put a bit of pressure on your cash reserves if we do deal with that. I don't know who's going to do the time.
oh well, it'll
Well,
be,
Curly,
The deputy mayor.
I'd say,
Yeah, Deputy
we'll
Mayor.
go the oldest council, the one that's got the least time left. All right.
Send them both, we'll have one in each prison so we can go and visit the two facilities and take them a cake.
Okay. Have you got councillor Egan?
No, I just want to ask where Edwards Lane, what was it called? Bridger Lane or something? Can we please change that to Edwards Lane?
What's it called now?
It's never been put up, but it was something like Bridger or something like that, wasn't it, Francis?
I don't know, Catherine.
It's a name none of us recognise, but it must have been put forward for something.
Where-
There's no name on it.
Whereabouts is it?
What's it?
Down near Irene Edwards.
It's a microphone.
Edwards Lane. So it's, the Edwards live there, have done for many, many years. They asked, could it be called Edwards Lane? But it's got a name called Bridger Lane or something like that.
Is
No
that
one,
not official, do you say?
well, it must be official on the titles, but it's not known as
With
that
the-
because there's no title on it.
Okay. Well, I'll get it investigated.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, thanks.
Councillor Young?
I sat in on the Murray-Darling Association 2.5
You did?
day
Good, well done.
conference via television.
Well
That's
done.
Yes.
I'm pleased that
I'm
I
not
didn't
sitting on
enjoy
the
joining.
state council. The
That's a
state,
hard
Only half
ask.
a day.
2.5 days. Half a day is fine, but 2.5 was too much. And David Thurley at the end, he's the chair, he said it was too hard. Yeah, he's hoping you'd never have to do it again. I don't know if you want to know anything out of it. All the motions were passed. The MDA endorsed the minister's pledge that there will be no further buybacks. Mick Keogh talked about market trading and how it's very hard to regulate the water trading because they don't have to ID buyers and sellers when they're selling and buying water. So you don't know whether it's a corporation or a family farm selling or buying. And there's a lot of market manipulation with that. The guy from Snowy 2.0 was interesting, I thought. We've got 2 major dams being linked with 27 kilometres of tunnels and an underground power station. I can't imagine the work that goes on there. They've got 3 of those digger things that go in and do 3 different tunnels. Then they just leave them there, off on the side. And there was a lady from the CSIRO and just a couple of interesting facts. I thought we are the driest continent with the second highest per capita water use, with the highest per capita water storage and the highest water variability flow. So they find it very hard to predict anything because we have such variable water flow, but we have such a high need for water here. Yeah, I don't think I want another 2.5 day conference. I must have looked like a mad person at the end of it, I thought. We had the art gallery meeting, which sort of went okay. I have confirmed that Caroline Downer, she's the Art Northwest CEO, will be here on the 21st of October to talk to a few of us to help us facilitate how we can develop it further. And
Is there a committee being formed, like a community
we've got a
committee?
steering committee, but not a committee at this stage.
From the community, that.
Yeah, so that's good. And yeah, a young teacher through to our age, so that's really good.
Very good.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's about it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Sherman? Oh no, that's wrong. Councillor Dick.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I have a few quick matters. Through to you, Max, the Bannockburn site opposite the Historical Society, what is the plan with that land across the road?
Bradburn.
Bradburn.
Well, we have it earmarked for a couple of things. One is we can either subdivide it, and we've had some work done on that, but there are significant costs involved, and part of the proposed T Corp funding, if we borrow money, would be to pay for the services to create that subdivision. We would like to build a respite centre there as a home for challenge, so they can move from where they are at the moment, which is completely inadequate for the service they provide. And the possibility is also there for extending some of the aged housing, which is next door onto that site. And the site goes actually around from opposite the former Masonic Hall, right around. There's a connection back to Hope Street. You're probably aware of it.
Big block.
Yeah, it's got quite, there's enough land there to do several things.
I
Yeah,
think it's got a bore on it too, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And Max, of course, you will obviously know my next question, wouldn't you? About the puppy farm. There has been a raid last Wednesday, Max, was it? A raid by the RSPCA and police to the puppy farm at Copeton Dam, which is in our shire. I remind the councillors that Max, under delegated authority, refused the application. They took us to the Land and Environment Court, where I went down to Sydney to that court case, and we lost that court case, Max, didn't we? And
Well, we lost the court case because at that time, it was when the greyhound thing was bubbling up and the RSPCA said they didn't have the resources to continue supporting us in the court case and handling what the government wanted them to do with regard to greyhounds. So we had a commitment from the RSPCA that they would be the expert. They would provide expert evidence for our case, and they basically withdrew, which meant that we didn't really have the expertise to fight that case.
so, Max, do you have any further information you'd like
No, I
to
don't,
share
but I
with
did notice that at the same time that place was raided, there was also a property in Wagga. And I know that the person that runs that, his daughter lives somewhere around that area. So, and I know that there was a whole lot going on where they were transferring registrations of dogs and stuff between those two properties. So it looks as though as I understand it, there was someone who was sympathetic to the Oscars Law working for them on that property, and obviously they put together enough information to do the raid. I would point out that the council's role was simply to ensure that they were complying with the development approval that was issued by the court, and we did that. RSPCA are the ones that worry about animal health and welfare.
And
So
it's our responsibility to ensure that the dogs that are up there have correct registration, isn't it?
that's right. And that's what when we went there, that's what we always checked. But they were doing something that was a little bit dodgy about their registrations, but I don't understand how they were doing it, but we're aware that they were doing it.
So council wasn't notified that the raid was going to happen?
No, RSPCA never tell us what they're doing.
Okay.
Yet they expect us to keep them informed what we're doing, but it's not reciprocal.
So,
I don't know what the outcome of that is. I mean, you often hear about raids and, like, I'm not aware of any charges being laid or anything like that, so.
The lady that blew the whistle on it, in fact, is from Bingra, and she worked up there for many months on the weekend, and she then left the organisation and then gave these photographs to Oscars Law. Thank you, Max. Can we, if you hear anything, could you let us councillors
Yeah,
know?
I haven't been formally told that it was actually the owner's road property, so I'm just assuming that it's that property.
Sure.
And I know that we've had at least one person abuse us for approving it on Facebook. I've asked Alan Marshall if he releases any more press that he points out that it was refused by the council, approved by the Land Environment Court.
And the Prime News, as you know, contacted me. I know the reporter there, Liam, I've known for many years, and he works closely with me with the RFS, and I've done many interviews. He said that the conversation he had with Adam, and in his weekly report, he put that a organisation or an authority was actually taking care of the management of this business, and he implied that it was us as council.
That's not,
And I said to Liam, the reporter, I said, that's not correct. I said, the overriding authority is the RSPCA, not us.
yes.
He was quite astounded because Adam had convinced him that it was Gwydir Shire Council.
Okay.
Well, I was pretty whistled up at all that. Max, could you enlighten us, how are we going with the building blocks here at Bingra? Have we fixed the electricity problem we had?
No. What has happened there, you would know that the council endorsed putting in, as under the federal government's COVID-19 funding package, that we would allocate, I think it was $344,000 for the installation of electricity and NBN on that site. Now, the federal government didn't approve that. They felt that it didn't meet the guidelines of how they wanted that money spent. So what we've done now is we've rearranged some of the other grants so that we can pay for that electricity out of a state grant, which then saves the money that is in the budget for the Gwydir lights, so that money gets allocated to do the electricity work. I mean, we've had to move some deck chairs around, but you know, there's an organisation down in Tamworth, Curry, I can't remember what their last name is, but they do all the design and construction, and they're actually just finalising those designs. So,
Could you give me an estimate of when you think those blocks would come on the market for sale?
well, hopefully, it shouldn't take long to do the electrical work, and then that's the only thing that's holding it up. So I would say within 3 months, you know, we're hopeful that.
The real estate is on the move.
I know.
And I think there's a fair few people that, certainly the real estate, McGregor's told me that they're very active at the moment. And I think with this COVID, it'd be a very good opportunity to get them out there and see if we can get some new houses and new residents.
Yeah, I had a meeting yesterday with the representative from the Enowan Land Council, because as you may be aware, they've got a number of claims over land within Bingra. And they've just been given quite a number of lots adjacent to the living classroom area. And he was, you know, sort of like, what can we do with this land? And I said, well, you know, it can be residential. But when I pointed out to him the costs involved in actually bringing them onto the market, I think it was a bit of an eye-opener for him. But we're actually trying to negotiate them to lift a lot of the claims, because they have claims over, for example, our tip, the golf course, you know, all these sorts of things. So we've started a dialogue with them, but I think it's going to be interesting when they realise just how much it costs to turn these things into reality, into money-making things for them.
Actually, I have one more. Could you give the councillors a report on how we're going with the bypass, please?
Yes, love to. The, like Amy will be able to correct me if I say anything that isn't right, but it's my understanding that we've designed the road to go around lot 317 so that we can not use lot 317, and it's been sent for peer review by local government engineers in Inverell, and we've discovered that we already have a licence over the land that would be required to do it, but we have to do some additional work on the statement of environmental effects because it's a little bit longer. It's about 50 or something. How much longer is it?
It's 500 metres
500
longer.
metres longer, okay. So we've got, but some of the councillors drove that sort of site the other time, and you know that it's been completely decimated by the fire, so there's really hardly any real problem about saying that it's not going to have any further environmental impact, but there are some tree clearing, but they're all been burnt out. So we're anticipating, if everything goes well, that we will be able to open up that bypass before Christmas.
Well, then and the environmental impact is actually less because it's a less area.
And the new road there, is that on Crown land, Max?
The new one that we would be
Where we
building,
spin around.
yes,
Yeah.
it's on vacant Crown land, yep. And it seems to be going okay. Because of the change, that we may be able to do that road, which I think is a priority if we can do it, we may have to delay doing the Horton Road. And we're negotiating with the funding body about changing some of the timelines on those projects. Amy, did you want to say anything else?
I'm not sure who went for a drive with Alex to take a look, but we've actually staked out the centre line where it comes off that existing bit north of Garagine Road and a bit up through the scrub. And we have looked at the power lines it goes under and the optic fibre it goes over, and we should be right there. So we're just waiting on peer review and any statement of environmental effects stuff, but it's looking pretty promising at this point.
That'd be a wonderful Christmas present for Warrielda people if we.
Well, that and the truck wash should come online as well, so it would be good.
Terrific.
So the ponds.
On the truck wash, if you're interested, we've just received the draft statement of environmental effects about those detention ponds that we want to build, and it's looking pretty positive. I can't see any reason why we won't be able to commence that work in about 3 weeks to build those ponds.
So it'll be online too.
Forgive me, can you tell me, where do we have the Bingra Pound?
The Bingra Pound is actually, it's one of the items that was spoken to about the Enderwan people because it's got a claim over it. But when you're driving towards the tip, you go down on the culvert sort of, and immediately after that to the left, there's a road that winds up to where the pound is, but it's really basic. That'll be used as an interim one until we can build the one that's going to be approved for Warrielda, but yeah, that's where it is.
Thank you.
That's it, Councillor Nick?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moore? You want to leave yours till later, or?
Yeah, I will that bit.
Okay.
Max, where are we up to with the rec ground building at Warrielda down on the oval there? The one behind Captain Cook Park, so far as pulling the building and that down?
I don't know when it's scheduled. It's like our works people in the building department are really stressed at the moment.
Yep.
They've got the amenities building at the swimming pool. They've laid the concrete pad and they're about to start building that. That's got a priority at the moment because we're aiming to open up the pool on the 28th of November. That precinct.
October or November?
November,
November.
I think it opens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
This
the new pool
Sorry,
and the splash
yeah.
park and everything, yeah. So that's their target at the moment. I can find out what their timeline is for that revamp and I'll get back to you, let you know.
No, that's okay. All right, no, that's it from me. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Councillor Smith?
The only thing I think I asked before, just talking about swimming pools, there was mention of the high school or someone trying to get
Murals.
students to do something on that front wall. Is that still?
Well, there's a group of people that the council's been talking to up there that are interested in doing it. I can't remember their names, but perhaps someone like
Was it the
Leah
school?
could help me. Do you know?
There's 3 different groups. There's a group at the high school and then there's a couple of artists and an individual person. So we'll have to look at how we manage that and how we decide what we actually want on the wall.
I think that's pretty important, Leah, that you actually have some input into what goes on the wall. Yeah. I don't want graffiti.
No, and we're looking at something that can be easily removed, that the mural actually be on tin, I suppose, some sort of product that can just be screwed onto the wall, because the best of blocks that the building built of is they're quite ordinary in their infrastructure. So we're looking at something that can be put on a tin type poster scenario and put on the
you're
wall.
probably not aware, Jeff, that Sharon Gilmore is actually leaving the school.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's going on leave without pay, I think, for 12 months. And when she comes back, she may actually be transferring to a school in Inverell.
Oh, right. I knew they were heading.
And I think she was sort of like the driving force
Yeah.
behind those
Yeah.
activities. So
I just thought it would have been really good for the high school kids to do something where they could, and it wouldn't cost much, and if we had to add a bit onto it, well, fair enough, but it needs something because it's looked pretty bland, I reckon.
Pretty.
Something to brighten it
especially
up.
with the removal of the trees.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
I think that looks good.
There's also a request to put the wording back on the pool, which we're looking at doing on as you face it on the right hand side, that wall. When we put the awning out,
Yep.
it removed the wording that said it was
In small print.
memorial. Yeah. There was also an idea around tying it in with the Bingra pool development and having the same look, but we'll consult with the community and see probably even have a competition actually around design and get some
People
ideas
around
in. Yep. Get some ideas in as to what the community would like to see there. I know David Jerd has some very definite ideas about a mural on the pool, and then there's been also representation about something that depicts the returned servicemen as well. So it'll be tricky, I think.
that's all. I thought I was going to ask about the puppy farm and the last thing about the
Right, thanks, Councillor Smith. Well, look, that concludes this part of the meeting. We're going to come back into a confidential session after morning tea.
Well, it'll only take 5 minutes, John, if you want to do it.
Well, we're going to have to clear the room, so we're going to have a cup of tea and come back. So I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance. And,
Not closed.
well, this part of the meeting is complete and there'll be no more recording as well. Okay, thanks. We're going to have morning tea. No, exactly the same. Well, no, we'll go back into our meeting and it's already been moved and seconded that we go into confidential session. So we'll put that motion, those in favour say aye. Aye. No, carried, thank you. And
Yeah, there were no resolutions that came out of the confidential session, so there's nothing to report.
that's great. So with that, I declare the meeting closed and thank you for your attendance.